everyone. It is Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. And I'm here today to do our weekly update on what is happening in the Austin real estate market. So last week I reported from the numbers all the way to the 22nd of January. Today we're looking at yesterday's numbers, the 29th of January, compared to what happened the prior week. So kind of a summary. If you were here last week, you saw that we had, when it came to new pendings, they skyrocketed. We were up like 39% week over week, which still we had our second highest since September week last week. So the question is, how did the Austin real estate market, how did we do this week? And so we're going to dive in a little bit about that today. So without further ado, also, if you are following me, feel free to subscribe, save this so you can find this data later on. Also, I am monitoring the comments, so feel free, if you have a question on any of the data that I'm presenting, feel free to drop a line and I will see that. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up, this is next week's numbers. So once again, I put this out here. I had someone ask me specifically to kind of give you a little bit of, so you could follow along and see what was happening. So first and foremost, our active inventory, there did not shoot up much. We only had a seven listing increase, and that's even with what went pending and what sold, all of that. It was only a seven going up week over week. So kind of stayed a little similar with it. Average price, not much change. So we're seeing that $1.15 million house. The peak this summer, we were at 1.13, kind of where we had. So we're a little bit higher than last year's peak. Median price point, you're going to see that kind of drift up a little bit too. And I expect to kind of see that trend continuing. So Austin is very much a spring market. We typically start picking up our sales and our buys starting in about March. And so March, I would say that is like end of February. March is really when our buyers come out. We start to see our sellers come in heavy end of April. So kind of March is that time frame where all of a sudden prices are going up and everything like that. That's kind of happening. So also our days on market. So our days on market, we are finally under 100 days. So it was a few weeks, probably about 6 weeks or so, where we hit over 100 days. And so we've kind of started to drop down. You see the median's up by one, not any big changes with this. So as we start getting into that new season, we're going to see it drop down kind of couple things. One, older listings might be selling, but two, the other thing is we're getting new listings come in. So it's going to kind of bring those numbers down just naturally. The other thing we're seeing is this is where I keep pointing out to, hey, here is the strength of the market in Austin. And here's kind of what's changing. You'll see the listings, the number of percent of listings with a price reduction. So we went down 1.85%. So our peak was around 57%. We're about almost 10% down from where we were. So couple things. One, those older listings that they're selling. Two, we've got some new listings that are hitting the market. And three, sellers are just kind of holding still to kind of see what is happening too. So that's a data point I really like to follow and track and see. You can see when the market gets desperate, that's going to shoot way up. And I'd say the national average typically is around like 35-40%. Austin's a little bit higher. It's been a little bit higher for the past couple of years. We've expected that. But so it's kind of good to see that cooling off. The next thing we're going to do is the new listings days for the past 7 days. So I'd like to see how many new listings are we getting? Is it a big influx? How does that compare? So we did get 188 new listings. This is actually 13 less than the number that we got last week. As well as for our relisted new listings. And this is a good sign for new listings. Only 26 of these 188 were, 26 of these 188 were relisting. So we weren't looking as much age inventory, which also might mean that out of that, 162 houses, some of them might move faster. So we might see a drop down next week, especially when we go to some of our pending numbers in regards to days on market, because maybe they'll sell a little bit closer. Now I'm listening to this real quick. Something was off right here. I've got a formula that just changed. I don't know what it did. F9 minus F10. Oh, I don't know what it just did. Okay. So this shows last week's data. So what I want to say is last week we had 43. This week we had 26. So a little bit less. Oh, you have to excuse me. It looks like some of these formulas when I shifted over. So I'll take a look at that. So we're just going to look, honestly, we're just going to go like this back and forth because I can see last week's data and this week's data. So you're going to see we drop down right here. You're also going to see this new listing inventory. Of course, we had a little fewer here. The other thing that's kind of a reprieve for buyers is that we are going to see that the average price point that came on this past week is at $991 versus that 1.15 million. So maybe there were some houses out there that came in that people are, I say, better price point for people for the average price. But here's the trick, the kicker: the median went up. The median went up 50,000. So this just most likely means we didn't have as many luxury homes hit the market. Granted, a lot of luxury homes are also off market. I get daily emails from agents that have luxury homes letting me know, hey, this new luxury home hit the market. So we're going to kind of pay a little bit of attention to that and just keep that in the back of our minds. Next thing that we're going to look at is pending listings. So this is a big jump week over week. So our pending listings, we saw that, jump up significantly, more so, I say more so than probably most expected, with our week over week in pending. And let me do this as I actually have that. So week over week under contract, we went up 57 for our week over week pending. Now, if we also go over here and we also start looking at, at our week over week pending. And then also if we start looking at what is our average price point. So our average price point, we went up about 16,000. Our median price point, it was down by like 1,000. Nothing big there at all. The next big thing that we're seeing right here is days on market. And this is where I'm talking about. We're going to see drops in days on market just naturally because new inventory is going to come out and people are going to snatch it up right away. And this right up here, this might increase or might decrease. It really depends on if the new listings get snagged up quickly and the old stay. If new gets snagged up quickly and we keep letting the old inventory stay, we might see a little bit rise in here. If new listings and old listings are going down, we're going to see these numbers continue to drop. But this is not a surprise. We can expect these pendings to keep going down. The next thing with numbers with a price reduction right here. So yes, it looks a little bit higher, ones that had a price reduction, but that's why I talk in percentages. So yes, there was a few more that went under contract with the price reductions, but our overall percentage went down by almost, I say 1.25, a little bit less than that. It's just something to keep a little more than that, 1.26%. You are going to see our number of listings with the price reductions going down, not only up here, there's going to be fewer that are having price reductions, but also down here because there's fewer that are, I say, available that are getting that price reduction. Now, here's kind of where we start to see some other changes. So this was, you have to remember when we are looking at this data, we're also looking at this data. I do it multiple different avenues. One, we do 30 days. We do like a rolling 30 days, and that's what you're going to see right here. Then we also go do month over month. So I'm going to look at everything that's closed in January of this year compared to everything that's closed in January of last year. That's year over year. Month over month, this is new. So if you're following me, this is new. I'm now adding month over month to see where we're kind of going. So we did see fewer houses close out. And this is kind of going to be expected because in December, in general, a number of pending listings continuously fell. So if we come back here to pending listings, we see this big jump. But 610, you can see that was smaller. 608, that was smaller. 622. But in general, we were seeing fewer pending homes in December. So I am not surprised to see that number drop down. And that has to go with number of pendings. The other thing we have to keep in mind is when houses were also going pending in December, well, we're at end of January, so we're kind of getting it still close to it. But these are also houses that people made deals on, meaning the seller made a deal to get the house under contract for the new year. We saw a lot of that happen at the end of the year. And at the beginning of the year, we didn't have as many houses moving. So not surprised. And that's where the days on market. So you see right here how days on market jumped up to 92 and 69. These were probably houses where people made deals. So these were houses end of year. So if you think about it, we're talking about the data that closed out from the 23rd to the 29th of January. So take that to December, 23rd to 29th of December, actually probably all the way to the end. these are the houses that we're going to see in this week's and next week's data. I'd say this week and next week's data that we're going to look at, it's probably going to be sort of negative in the pendings, but that's, remember, we're talking on a 30-day frame. So this has happened 30 days ago versus what's happening. What's happening now is kind of up here in pending. So right here, we're going to see a jump in February. We're going to see a jump, which is expected, but this right here pending, this is old news, but it's letting us know what happened in that old news. So you'll see here the average price went down. You'll also see that the median sales price went down as well. Keeping in mind, these are people making the deals. And then right here, this is where I kind of say, hey, where's closed price to list price? Well, these ended up very close, closed price to list price. Even closed price to original list price, the average, the median did drop down by 1%. Once again, like I said, this is people that are making deals. We're doing deals before the end of the year. So that is what you're seeing there. So overall, if I was to talk about this past week's data right here, the biggest thing that I see is that kind of takeaway is we had a big jump in number of pending listings go pending. I can say that I work with a few different buyers and sellers. And what I would say is, especially the older homes, surprisingly, I think we're going to see some investors and flippers coming back. I think that they're timing the market and they're all coming back because some of these older houses that typically haven't been selling but are in high interest areas were selling this past week and they were going under contract. So that was very, very interesting to see. I actually was out at a few sites and they were builders and developers out there. So it's going to be interesting. I will, maybe I'll throw in for next week if people want it or shoot me a message. I can show you how to, but I like to look at the number of permits in specific areas. Are we seeing a drastic increase in the permits in specific areas? So I'm about to head over and we're going to talk month over month data and year over year. With that being said, do me a favor, if you're following along, share this out to people, subscribe and save this because it helps people see it. So it sounds maybe you're not going to look at it again or whatnot, but if you save it in the algorithm, it puts it out to more people and I appreciate it. Once again, if you're just joining, my name's Danielle Marie. I'm from the One Realty. I take a data-driven all-in-one approach to real estate here in the Austin, Texas market. With that, we will head over to monthly. So monthly data. So you're going to see this big red. You're like, oh gosh, what is that? We'll talk about that in a second. So first off, this is the monthly data. Where are we as of today? So where are we if we are looking at what has happened so far in December? I'm like a teacher. I'm going to make you focus because everyone wants to see what's happening at the end. I'll show you it later. Just stay here. So first off, a year over year, remember this is numbers that I got on the 29th. Now, I can tell you that this number is already significantly higher. Why? Well, even if stuff closes out, sometimes it takes agents, unfortunately, 2 to 3 days to close it out. So you don't see that number. I won't have officially the end of January's numbers. Typically, you get the end of January's numbers about 2 weeks in. So we're talking about 14th to even the 20th of February. And that's just because some agents don't turn their numbers in. Also developers, different things, builders, all that. They don't close them out on the MLS. It takes time, but we'll see it. So with that, we are down sales. If we compare to last year, we're down 28%. That's a big amount. I think we'll end up in the 400s is where I kind of see us ending up based on what I've seen in the past couple of months. And we typically have a big number close out the last couple of days. The other thing, if we look year over year, this is where it gets scary. So if you've seen the headlines out there, they're all over there. The number of houses being sold in the US significantly dropping. And I think that across the US, we're seeing that. You're seeing this here as far as the historical average. That being said, I still think we're going to be well under the historical average. So the historical average, we're typically almost 650, just kind of in that area. We're not going to hit it this year. Not expected to at all. We don't even have that many pendings. Average sales price. So this is interesting. Average sales price. If we go year over year. Now, remember, January sales prices are December's negotiations. So January is always going to kind of look like shit a little bit because January is everyone that was desperate to sell and all those investors that came in and they swiped a good deal. So Year over year looks really great. So look, we're up like 62,000. So year over year, we're over 8% for our median. And this is where I really like to look at is what is the median saying? Because we can have the average up really high, especially if we're having like multi-million-dollar houses sell at a few big ones. What is our median saying? Our median's up 2.88%, which is a surprise to some people. Days on market, very similar to last year, not even really paying attention to it. The other thing that we're going to see right here, the biggest thing is our close price to original list price, we're 1% higher than last year. That just shows it's just kind of a little bit stronger. Now, here's kind of the negative. So we're gonna look at a report card. This was the parents, this was the kids showing like, hey, look, I've got A's and B's. Well, let's go see some of the C's. So like I said, this right here is actually gonna be, this is December, so month over month. So you can, I'm putting my hand up here like you can see this. Ignore this data because this data right here corresponds to here. This data right here corresponds to my December's data that I'm adding. So how are we right now? Well, we're down 329 in comparison to what closed out in December. So our numbers are significantly down. Now, that is normal. Normally we sell fewer homes close out in January than they do December. December's a little bit of a tick higher up just because people are still shopping in November, and in December, people kind of cut real estate out of their mind until the new year. So that's down. We're also down in January. Now, remember, when I'm looking at January's numbers, we're also talking about the sales. These are people that were desperate to sell at the end of the day, or investors like taking advantage of that, the seller, just to try and get by. So I'm not surprised. We're down 44,000 and we're down 35,000. But even being down this right here, like even if you compare this, we're still up to where it would have been, last year. So we're still above. So if we look at December, this is not, it is negative, but you have to understand context. So the context of it is these are all the deals that came in December. We're up year over year. For month to month, we're down, not surprised by it. Days on market, we can see that and this kind of where it goes to days on market, we're higher by 4 and 10 on the median. That's also people looking for deals. Once again, people are looking for deals. So if you're just joining us, this is looking at January 25 compared to December of 25. The other thing that you're going to see right down here is the close price to list price. These are all very similar. There's nothing really big. It's slightly lower in January than it was in December, because you also have to remember December's data was also after what happened in November when we saw a push out of nowhere because interest rates went down. We saw a push out of nowhere of pending. And so we're going to hop to that. So here's our pending data. This is me. If you know, we're tracking week over week. So we talked about pending data last week, and this was our big shocker right here. We had 166 houses go. We went from 119 to 166 go pending. That was a big week. It was also a holiday week. This week, we had 155. That's still very, very good to go up, because if you look at this, we have 155, 166. If we go all the way back, 168 was our highest. Our 155 is still our third highest since well into September, because even before September, when I wasn't tracking, we were at like 123, 124 a week. So way down. So these are still big numbers if you look at it in the full context. That's why it's like looking at interest rates. You see the high interest rate and you look at the last 5 years, you're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy high. But then you look at the historical interest rate and you're like, oh my gosh, the historical interest rate is a 7.75. Like, we're not doing too bad. With that being said, right here, so you're seeing a week over week, it was a 7% decrease. The other thing that you're going to see is I started putting what was Friday's interest rate. So that's kind of going into the weekend. What was the interest rate? So you're going to kind of see interest rate went up tiny bit right here, a little bit less action. The other thing that you are going to see is we talked about everything that went pending in December. So here's all these December ones. These are the ones that are showing for what's sold. And remember, we talked about about December having a pretty good month in December. You have to remember in November. So these November right here, these were all reacting from that sub 7% interest rate. So we're talking people were in the sixes, well low into the sixes. And these were the people in November that were reacting from it. So we had houses going on the market. People came out of nowhere to look for houses. We're seeing that. But overall, if we were to go back to everything this week, big takeaways is that we didn't have any major changes in regards to the number of listings. They didn't really go up. Our number of pendings, we stayed steady. To have 155 go pending, that is showing kind of progress. our sales data, remember, is 30 days delayed. So even though we're seeing these numbers now, it's from the numbers of what happened 30 days ago. So what happened? It was December. It's those holiday months. People are out. You're getting people that are trying to get end of year sales. So kind of all of that rolled into one. Nothing too frightening across the board. Year over year, we're up are over 8% year over year. The median is up 2.8%. That's also why you have to compare year over year, not just month over month, because there's seasonality things that are different. You have to compare. Like I can tell you, no matter what, most months, June is always going to dominate December. And that's just, it just happens because that's when people are buying and different things like that. So with that, I am Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, feel free to leave me a comment, questions at all. Also, feel free to shoot me a DM. You can follow me at the _1_realty on X, where I give a lot of updates, or you can follow me on YouTube. I'm actually Austin Real Estate. How I got that handle, I don't know, but I will take it. So have a great day.